Today is the first day I'm running my new Legendary Thunder 1/10 scale truck. This truck is only $110 right now, an incredible deal. Brushless motor, comes with a LIPO charger, transmitter, it's RTR, and I want to give a huge thank you to my buddy Britt over at 1/10 scale RC Performance for sending this thing out to me. But today, I'm gonna go ahead and do some speed runs. The stock 2S battery, a higher performance, but still a budget 2S battery. And then I'm gonna run a budget 3S battery in it. We'll see what kind of speeds we can get with this thing being completely stock. I literally just took the packaging off this thing and haven't touched it otherwise. So let's see what this thing does. And check out my previous video if you wanna see the details on it as far as the unboxing and the specs and everything. But I'm not gonna waste any more time, and let's see what this thing does. I have the stock LIPO in here, and let's see what this thing does. Easing into it. Full throttle. I have the dual rate on the steering turned down so it's not too sensitive. Not that it's too critical right now at these 2S speeds, but on the included 2S battery, 31.2, let's do one more run. Full throttle. And 31.1. And I'm pleased to see the GPS is working well. Those definitely look like real readings. All right, and next up is this budget-friendly Urgenix 2S 5200 milliamp hour 70C LIPO. I'll put the exact price on the screen, but these go for like only $15. Now I am running an adapter here, one I made myself, so there'll be a little extra resistance. I run 8mm bullets on all my high performance cars, and I didn't want to have to change it over to Dean, so that's why the adapter's there. But if anything, it's certainly going to make the truck a little slower. All right, let's get this thing going. The GPS is zeroed out and reading. Let's see what we can do with the Urgenix 2S. Is it any faster than that really lightweight and small stock Legendary battery? It should be, but it might not pull enough amps in stock trim to really make a big difference. So this will be interesting to see, how much better this LIPO performs. In my Traxxas Bandit that has extremely tall gearing and a very powerful motor, this battery went 80 miles an hour. Again, it's 2S. 31.9, so really not a big difference at all. I think that's like 0.2 miles an hour. But the performance difference will increase more when I start putting taller gearing in here, and certainly if I put a hotter motor in here, the difference in these batteries would certainly be more pronounced. But that goes to show you this stock battery is not bad for a 2S LIPO. Not bad at all, because this is not a horribly low performance battery. It actually is not that far off from most of my higher, my more expensive 2S LIPOs. So 31.9 back to back. The GPS is working great, and there we go. So those are the 2S speeds for the Legendary Thunder right out of the box. No modifications at all. I'm actually pretty impressed. I was expecting maybe 30, but probably high 20s. And the motor it's warm, certainly not hot. The Hobby Wing ESC that comes in here, pumping off some heat, but it's certainly not hot. So I think it's time to go ahead and do 3S now. Okay, next up is my Superior 3S 5000 milliamp hour LIPO. Superior makes some of the best budget-friendly batteries on the market. This one's gone nearly 100 miles an hour in my Traxxas Bandit, so definitely a lot of performance there. And I'll put the price down below, but let's see what this thing can do. This should really waken this truck up, and it's 3S capable right out of the box. So let's see. I'm expecting 45 plus miles an hour, possibly even close to 50. All right, now the GPS, it's zeroed out and reading. Let's see what this thing can do on 3S. All right, that definitely woke that thing up. Ooh. And the first thing I'm gonna do before I run this truck next time is reduce the brake force. But the nice thing about this truck is with the Hobbywing ESC, you can adjust some of the parameters on the ESC. You can turn the punch down, and you can also reduce the brake force, I believe. And so definitely gonna need to do that because that's way too sensitive on 3S. But let's see what kind of speeds we got. I did leave the protective plastic coating on the truck, so hopefully the body still looks pretty good. I'm glad I put the strap on there to secure the battery. You can see we got a little scrape there, but no big deal. All right, 48.9 on the totally stock Legendary Thunder with a 3S LIPO. Pretty darn quick. I'll go ahead and range test it right now. A lot of people said that the range is pretty limited. And that is about, I think, 450 feet. I'll confirm it when I actually edit the video. But that's better than I was expecting. All right, full throttle. Jeez, the brakes are just stupid. I barely touched them that time, and that's not good. 48.6. Do one more run here. Yeah, so we went almost 0.2 miles. 0.1 mile is about 500 feet. So I'd say about 450 feet, and I was still getting good reception. And 48.6. So there we go. Pretty darn quick on a, you know, pretty standard, pretty budget, but strong 3S LIPO. I'm gonna go ahead and pop the GPS off of here and now just have a little fun with it. Now I have the punch set to the stock setting, which is 3 out of 5, and I do not have the wheelie bar on here. I'll probably end up turning the punch down because I'm mainly gonna be doing speed runs with this truck. But yeah, this thing has tons of power, and if you mash the throttle, it will do a pretty good wheelie here on 3S. This thing handles nicely right out of the box. Definitely an off-road setup. I need to stiffen the shocks some more, but even with the lean and the tires ballooning, we're doing pretty good here. This is certainly way more stable than my hay boxing truck. And the incredible thing about this truck to me is just the price point. $110 is just silly how it's that inexpensive. And we'll see how it holds up over time. My understanding is the CVDs and the dog bones are not the strongest out there, so we'll keep an eye on them. But man, this thing is ripping. High 40s right out of the box. Getting a feel for the brakes. They're still stronger than I want, but if you're really gentle with them, they will work without flipping the truck over. and see how warm things are getting. All right, this stock motor, it's a 3300 kV, true 3650 size motor. It's getting hot. It will need a cooling fan if you're gonna run it for long periods of time on 3S. The ESC, I think, is probably fine. I don't like how I have to cover part of the fan with this strap. I'm gonna have to move some stuff around here to improve that. You can see the wires here on the ESC are pretty small. They're only 14 gauge. It is only a 50 amp ESC, which is enough for stock use, but you know, I prefer something a little beefier. But for $110, who am I to complain? I mean, insanity that you can get a ready to run truck for $110 in today's economy with you know, all the inflation and everything. That's just ridiculous. Oil filled shocks, fully adjustable turnbuckles. You can adjust the gearing in here. It comes with extra parts. Again, check out my previous video where I go into detail on all that this truck comes with. But the range wasn't a factor for me today. I was careful to keep the antenna vertical, or as vertical as possible, and the range seems sufficient. So maybe I'll take it somewhere else to try to range test it a little better. But I'm pretty impressed. This thing performed well, and the transmitter, some people, you know, have complained it is small, but it fits in my hand just fine. And again, the range was sufficient, certainly sufficient for stock use, and it has plenty of features. You can reverse the servos or the direction for the ESC and the servo. It has dual rate, it has steering trim, throttle trim, everything you really need. The steering trim's the important one. A lot of budget RC trucks don't come, I'm sorry, with the dual rate, and I turn that down because at high speed, if it turns too quickly, it's just gonna, you know, make you crash the truck. So dual rate is a really nice feature to have. Okay, so I just put the stock LiPo back in here, and I'm just gonna run this thing and see what kind of runtime I get out of it. I think it's gonna be pretty solid because, I mean, even if this battery isn't a true 5200 milliamp hour, I will test it and see how much it actually holds. I'm a little skeptical it holds that much, but we'll see. But even if it only holds, say, 4,000, still a decent sized battery for, you know, a truck this size. And I think the run times are probably going to be, you know, 10, maybe 15 plus minutes. Hard to say until we actually test it, but not a bad sized battery at all if it's close to its claimed capacity. All right, so here we go on the stock LiPo. Let's just have some fun with it and see how it performs right out of the box on the stock LiPo. I'm not going to put all this in the video. It's not quite as exciting as 3S, but there you go. Handling is good. This thing goes right where you point it. I still have the dual rate turned down. Just enough steering to let it do what I want. I'm turning pretty hard and it's not flipping. And a lot of my smaller budget trucks, if you try to do a turn like that, you will flip. So $110, it may not be as durable as some of my other budget trucks. I'm not gonna bash this thing hard. I'm not gonna take it to a skate park. I don't do that with any of my trucks. I don't have money to be repairing them all the time. And I just don't really like hard bashing. But if you don't plan on hard bashing, definitely put this truck on your list. And again, the smaller trucks, you just try a little jump like that. The suspension travels less and they're gonna bottom out. And my 12 scale HBX will do that little jump there and not get too upset by it. But this, it doesn't phase it at all. The stock oil filled shocks just soak that right up like it's nothing. So this truck has so much going for it. I'm surprised this doesn't sell better than it does. Now on Amazon, there definitely are some mixed reviews on it, and this is really my first time running it, so I'm gonna have to see how it holds up long term. But there we go. The suspension's a little soft for on-road use, but probably about ideal for off-road use. But gosh, that is just nothing. Not that it should be, it's only an 8-inch curb. But again, my small trucks, especially my 14th scale Jetwood truck, a lot of fun, a rocket, similar speed to this right out of the box. But it just doesn't handle, you know, rough terrain, bumps, even the bumps in the parking lot here, which are pretty minor, upset the smaller trucks more than this. And my 16th scale hay boxing truck, yeah, it's fun, but it's a mess. There's just not enough suspension travel. It's too small. And this really checks a lot of boxes for me. If you're starting off and want an RC truck, to me, this is where it's at because it's so much more stable. The HDX 2997A, I love it. It's 12 scale. I've had a lot of fun, done a ton of videos on it, but it's hard to drive, even for me, which I don't know if I want to say I'm an expert, but you know, I'm pretty good at doing speed runs and stuff, and I struggle to keep that thing, you know, going where I want it to. I would run this in the grass a little, but it's first thing in the morning, and I just nicked the grass, and you can see it's covered in filth from that. So I'm going to avoid the grass for now, but the taller tires on this versus a smaller truck will, you know, allow it to go through the grass a lot better than a smaller truck can. So this is, again, 2S. And maybe I'll pop the GPS back on here after a few minutes of running, just to see how much the speed comes down. As the voltage slows down, as the voltage goes down on this LIPO, it's going to, of course, slow down because voltage is what dictates the speed of the motor. And the higher the voltage, the faster the motor will spin and the faster the truck will go. So as I run it, it's of course gonna slow down, but usually LIPOs hold their speed pretty good. So even when this is pretty well run down, you know, I expect it to still probably be going high 20s. All right, I've been going non-stop with this thing for, I don't know, over 5 minutes plus the initial speed runs. So I'm curious to see what the voltage is at, and I do want to check the temperatures on 2S. I don't think there's going to be any problem. Probably can run like that for a full pack without, you know, yeah, the battery's cool. Okay, the motor's, it's pretty warm. I wouldn't say it's hot, but I can only put my finger on there for maybe about 5 or 6 seconds before it starts to hurt. So a little warmer than I expected. It's only about 60 degrees this morning, so it's you know, cooler than it's been. But let me throw my voltage tester on here and we'll see what the battery's at. Okay, so here we are, 7.6 volts, 3.78, and 3.79. So we're just below storage voltage. All right, we'll go ahead and check the speed now that the voltage has come down. GPS is zeroed out. Now, I think they only claim 250 feet for the range, but let's go ahead and test it and see how far it can actually go. All right, we're probably out about 500 feet right now. I don't want to go too much further, so let me bring it back and see how far I went. So basically 0.20, 5,280 feet in a mile. So yeah, almost exactly 500 feet. So that's actually really good range, better range than some of my other trucks, and plenty of range for stock 2S and 3S speeds. So my buddy Britt was having range problems with his out of the box. Perhaps something was wrong with his transmitter, I'm not sure. But mine has actually very good range, and I'm really happy about that. I'm gonna keep the stock transmitter in here and receiver for now. And you know, at some point, I'm sure I'll have to switch it out, but not yet. And I do want to mention, I am running rechargeable nickel metal hydride batteries in the transmitter. They're just little AAA batteries, so, you know, the duration you get out of the batteries, because they're smaller, won't be nearly as long as AA's. I think they have less than half the capacity of AA batteries. But the rechargeable batteries are lower voltage, which will reduce the range. So, you know, these are only about, I think, 1.3 volts fully charged, and a AA battery is 1.6 volts, maybe even a little higher. So yeah, actually I'm impressed by the range. I think it would go certainly further with AA alkaline batteries in here, and I couldn't reach the limits in the space that I have here right now. So good stuff. So, you know, I've been running this thing a long time, and I'll probably stop here shortly. I'll probably break this video up into 2 videos, honestly. Do a runtime video, and I'll do a 2S and 3S speed run video as well. What I'll do is I'll add up all the time this truck's been running in the video, and we'll have it kind of condensed so you guys don't have to sit here and watch it run the full, I don't know, 10 plus minutes, whatever it is. So right out of the box, all I'd recommend to do is to adjust the dual rate, probably turn that down a little, especially if you're new. It'll help you control this thing at higher speeds. You'll want greater steering throw, you know, off-road and at lower speeds, but for on-road use, that dual rate is your friend. And then the other thing, if you're gonna run it on 3S, I would recommend adjusting the brakes. They're just way too touchy, comically so. And yeah, not good. I would think the battery's probably getting pretty close to the low voltage shutoff. What's going to happen here is as the ESC detects the voltage below a certain point, and I don't know what the stock setting is, but you know, it'll cut the throttle way down to 50% or less, and that'll tell you, you know, you're almost out of battery. If you're in a spot that's not a good spot, it gives you a warning, you know, get it out of here before the battery completely quits. And it does that to protect the LiPo battery. If you discharge a LiPo too much, you can definitely damage it and reduce the performance long term. And possibly, if you run it down really far, it may even puff or possibly catch on fire, but you don't want to run them down too low. At the end of the day, anything below 3 volts is a problem, 3 volts per cell. And really, you probably have no business going much below, say, 3.4, 3.3 volts per cell. The performance will really start to dip, and the voltage will dip more quickly down at those lower voltages. So there's really no point in running it down that far. You know, it won't be nearly as fun, and it won't stay down there very long before it completely dies. Man, this thing is just going forever. Let's do one more speed check. It's definitely slowing down. I'm guessing it's getting closer to, I don't know, probably 26 or 27. But this would still be plenty fast off-road, or if you're not in a big, wide open space like I am here, you know, high 20s is still fun, especially for a beginner. And the brakes are even touchy on 2S. All right, 27.5. So that's down, what, 4 or 5 miles an hour from a fresh battery, but still has plenty of punch. It takes off, and this thing greatly is exceeding the runtime that I thought it might have. I wasn't sure how good the stock LiPo was. It's really small, and it seemed, you know, it seemed undersized for a 5200 milliamp hour LiPo, but I don't know. I'll capacity test it again, like I mentioned, but it's seems like it has a fair amount of capacity in there. We gotta be getting close though. All right, and there we go. We hit the low voltage shutoff just now. I was blipping the throttle, hoping it might hit it. And you can see it only ran for maybe 5 or 6 more seconds before it totally shut down. So that gives you just enough time to get it out of a dicey situation. You know, maybe you're near traffic or something, and it would suck if it just completely cut out. I'm thinking this probably dipped pretty low. That seemed like a really long runtime. And let's see what the voltage is at. 6.75, 3.4. Yeah, about 3.4 volts per cell. So that's a good place for it to actually shut down. The LIPO is cool. The motor's hot. I can only touch it for about 4 seconds and it starts to burn. And that was on 2S, on not the warmest day. Motor's running a little warmer than I expected. You can get away with running on 2S for a full pack, it would seem. A hot day might be pushing it, but you'll definitely want to probably invest in a cooling fan, a heat sink with a cooling fan to help keep these motor temperatures in check, especially on 3S. But this truck ran absolutely flawless. I have my excellent Gens Ace D300 charger here, and I'm going to go ahead and capacity test the stock Laegendary battery, 5200 mAh. We'll see if that's accurate or not. And the voltage is down to 6.3 volts, about just below 3.2 volts per cell. So that's pretty much fully discharged, and I do have the charger a little bit of an angle just to minimize the glare on the screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and charge it. We'll go at a 1C charge rate, 5.2 amps, and go ahead and start and see what this thing holds. Well, there we go. The Laegendary Thunder, $110, 1/10 scale truck. This thing ran absolutely flawlessly, and so far, this is by far the best value I've ever seen in an RC truck. $110, RTR, ready to run. Transmitter worked great. Yeah, it's small, but the range was plenty for me. And yeah, this thing really exceeded my expectations. So definitely check this out. There's a link in the video description to where you can purchase this thing. And for $110, as long as you don't bash it too hard, I think you'll be really happy with it based on my first impressions here. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.